To those who are joining us locally, to those who are joining us abroad, to those who are joining us live, and those who will be viewing us on the delay, I want to say thank you. My name is Nathaniel Watkins, and this is Impact 2020. This is an opportunity for just regular people like you and I to connect and talk about what's going on in the community and what's going on in the world. And we have a guest that we're going to talk about, just add a couple of questions, talk about what's going on in this community, and basically see if we can come to any conclusions. So I would like to introduce Eric. Eric, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing, man? What's going on?
Pretty good, pretty good. Glad you could join us today.
Yes,
So we're just gonna jump right in. Basically, we're just gonna, for everybody who may be tuning in, we want to make sure that if you put in a comment into the banner section, you can type in a question or a comment. We will address your question in the comment section. Matter of fact, if you don't want it to be shown on screen, just put "do not show" or "don't show." Otherwise, we'll put you on the screen. We'll answer your question. And that none of these questions have been pre-given out, so it's live, it's in effect. So basically, we just want an honest answer about what's going on.
Right. All right.
All right. So let's just hop right into it, Eric. Basically, since you're here in Richmond, Virginia area, give me an assessment of what you think the climate is like. What you think, or what are you seeing, or where do you think we are as far as with the whole police brutality, with the protests going on? Like, how do you just feel about the whole overall environment?
The overall environment, I think it's for a good cause. For the people that actually know what the cause is for.
Right.
Because some people out there that just like they don't understand and kind of like playing follow the leader. They don't really understand what's actually going on. But this is something that we've been going on with and dealing with hundreds of years. It's not just now. It's always been a part of our history. Not even just Black history, but it's just always been a part of history, period, as far as police brutality. And one thing about police brutality is that some of them do take advantage of, their power that they do have.
Right.
It's not always white, because I've been in a situation before where I had police brutality done upon myself, but it was a Black man that did it. So it's kind of like it's an awkward situation when we gotta kind of I always hate to make it seem like it's a race thing, and it is, but it isn't, because that's what we're looking at it right now as a race thing. Because when you think about police brutality, you're thinking about, okay, from me saying it, you're thinking, okay, when I say that, oh, it's the white man that's doing this to me.
Right.
But Black man that's in power in that position can also do that as well. But being where I'm at now and where I feel like we stand at now, yeah, I think it's a good cause, but I just think people need to wake up and understand and realize actually what's going on. Like, look at the history of it, do your own research, find out what's actually going on before you go out there and start these protests and etc. or whatever that's going on. Let's not just follow what's going on. I feel like everyone should not be a follower. I feel like everyone should be a leader within themselves. They all should be. Like, none of us should be following one another just because that's the popular thing to do right now. Right. Let's all be a leader, because
you're making a great point, because one of the things that you said really resonated with me, because probably my worst interaction with a cop was actually a Black cop, a female state trooper, as a matter of fact. I remember it. And so it's not necessarily a white Black thing. It is a cop Black thing from my standpoint. But you're right, because sometimes whether it's a Black cop, whether it's a white cop, sometimes it just it gets out of hand.
Yeah, because it's you know what? It's not a white thing. It's not a Black thing. It's a blue thing. And when I mean by blue, I mean by those blue suits. And anybody can wear those blue suits.
Right.
And some people, some of those blue suits they think otherwise because of the power that they have. Um, it's sad. It's very sad and it's heartbreaking that we have to go through these terms and these situations. But like again, like I said earlier, it's been going on for hundreds of years, and I know we're all tired of it. But it's listen, it's going to continue even after we finish with everything that's going on right now. It's still going to continue, even though what we're doing now, okay, it might help certain situations, right? But it's not going to stop the police brutality. And then you got to think about how are we just going to sit right here and talk about police brutality and how they treat us when we don't know how to treat one another?
Mhm.
Like, come on, we gotta understand something first. Let's. I always found this foundation of let's take care of home first before we take care of what's going outside. And what I mean by that is like, why do we have to do this amongst each other? Because that's the same thing. Like we're brutalizing each other already. But then when it comes to a certain race, then it's a whole different subject. So let's take care of home first. Let's take care of each other first before we get into that situation. Because it's always going to happen, whether black, white, black, black, white, white. It's always going to happen. So I do agree. Some police officers do take heed and pride into their job, and they feel like they're a little bit more above the law, which they in place for it, so they are a little bit above the law, and they kind of can do what they want, even though they shouldn't, because I feel like they should think about like, hey, this guy's human just like I am. We're both human. It doesn't matter if I'm black. Doesn't matter if he's white. He's a human being. He breathes like me. He bleeds like me. Like these are the things that we all have to think about,
Mhm.
especially during those situations. And um, we talk about the George Floyd cases and the Breonna Taylor cases. We
Right.
talk about all of those cases like that, where those white individuals, those white cops, they go inside these situations and they act out on emotion because they're not acting out as because they're the law. They're acting out on what they were taught and raised on.
Right.
See, because a lot of those, it's just like, when we grow up, our families, our fathers, our mothers, our grandfathers, grandmother, they taught us certain things. They taught us these things. So it's instilled with them. So when you get amongst these white officers, or because basically that's what we're dealing with right now, because that's all the media is showing is the white officers and police brutality on the black folks. These folks in their mind, they were already trained and taught before they were even police officers, how to handle situations when it came to the opposite race.
Right. That's a very good point.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Well, let me ask you, because that is a very good point. Like this is ingrained in them already. So what needs to be done? As we go out here as different people protest, as we talk about these issues, needs to be done to kind of break that cycle? Is it a situation is different type of training? Is it different policies? Is it that we need to make sure that cops police one another to make sure that they don't go off the handle? What do you think needs to be done?
it's several things that needs to be done, and I'm gonna tell you, in my own opinion, I'm gonna tell you why it's not gonna be done.
Uh-huh.
All right. So first, these things that need to be changed, far as police brutality or whatever, you gotta understand, like it's someone over top of the police, and most of the people that are over top of the police, they're Caucasian, they're Jews, etc. They have already been instilled with this, so that they're not going to change how they were taught or grew up, to release these things amongst us. Now, what I can't tell us as far as being black individuals, and not just black, I would advise this on anybody, excuse me. Um, First of all, the law is the law. When you come into contact with the police officer, and I've seen this several times.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make yourself seem automatically guilty. When that cop approaches you, show him respect. That's his job. Show him respect. Even though you might not want to do it because it's something called biting your tongue, and it's so hard to do it because the real ones know that what the history was behind this. Hey, look, it is what it is. Show the officer respect. Just say, hey, because I seen a lot of situations where um the police will pull a guy over and he has no mean or no harm in harming this person. But the African American black picks up the phone, he's recording. Oh, what the F you pulling me up for? You know, before the cop even has anything to say to him. It's just automatically is guilty. And I understand that though, because when we get pulled over by police officers being of our color, we automatically feel guilty as being black anyway. So we automatically think we done something wrong. Now, when they pull you and you feel like, he's getting on you or he's gonna find something, you're already guilty in that point because you on the aggressive side before he can even say something to you. Because I've been in this situation plenty of times where I had a cop pull me over and I felt like I wanted to be aggressive towards him before he even, excuse me, before he even, open his mouth and say what he wanted to say to me. Because half of the time they just, I'm not gonna say half the time. The majority of the time they just want to say, hey, let me see your license and your registration. Even though they ain't pull you over for nothing, nothing went wrong. They just pulled you over. So give them that right. Let them do that. But you can handle your situation. You still there? I don't see you. You still there?
Sorry about that. We lost you there for a little bit. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Got knocked off for a second.
All right. No, that was on our end.
Oh,
But
okay.
we do have a question coming across, and let's hop into that real quick. Question is, how can people of color increase positive interaction with the police?
How can people of color increase positive action with the police? Was
Yeah,
that the
interaction with the
question?
police.
Repeat it one more time for me.
How can people of color?
I think we're getting knocked off again. Okay, so I'm seeing it down here. I didn't realize the questions was coming down here. Okay, so how can people of color increase positive interaction with the police? All right, so like I was saying before, and I'm not sure if we cut off right now because I see I'm still live at the moment. I can't see my brother Nathaniel at the moment. Um, what we can do is, for one, we can respect their authority. For one, that's going to be the main issue because those cops, those white officers, they they're gonna feel like and they're gonna know you're gonna be aggressive towards them. So what we need to do is, whether we like it or not, we need to sit right there and show them that respect. Just give them the respect they deserve, or they feel they deserve. You know, it's a term called "fake it until you make it," right? So when they pull you over, a fake smile is fine. That's fine to me. You know, as long as he not harming me or hurting me. You know, if he needs your information, give him the information you need. I mean, if you're not guilty of anything, there's nothing to hide. So, you know, it's several ways to go around these situations. And a lot of it has to come with the knowledge of yourself, how you feel about this situation. Because I don't think any answer from a question can actually fix these problems. It's all about that person itself that can fix that issue. Because if you come and interact with it, how are you going to react to it? Especially if you've been through it before, how are you going to react to it? So I want to ask the people myself, like, how are you going to react? You know, when altercations come across with the police, like, how are you going to react? Have you been there before? How are you going to react? What are you going to change? How are you going to feel when they approach you?
Okay.
You know, it's self-explanatory. It's like, I mean, I know we talking about people of color, and her question again, and I'm gonna read it again. How can people of color increase positive interactions? That's a great question. It's a very great question. But that is also a question that you have to feel inside of yourself. Like, how am I going to increase positive interaction with this police officer?
Yeah.
For instance,
Now
I'll give you an example.
We got an extension of the question. How can we help other people who may be being harassed by the police?
Okay.
So yeah, if the police are harassing you, what interaction or what should we do at that point?
How can we help other people who may be harassed by the police? These subjects are so like yeah, I mean, no, so that is also a great question. Like, it really is a great question. But it's like, for the person who asked that question, do you think that question has been asked before 100 years ago? Because I know it has been.
Well, I got some clarification. So it's for example, it's like the George Floyd situation where you're sitting here on the sidelines with your camera and you're watching. What can you do? You know, you're sitting here, you're watching some police officers on somebody's neck, or you're watching some police officers treat somebody poorly, especially if it's a person of color. As an innocent bystander, you're just watching. What do you do? How do you stop it? How do you save their life before this thing goes wrong?
Yeah, but you know, the situation with that is like, I'm gonna go way left field in a minute, and then I'm gonna get back to that. You know, because I'm really gonna tell you, like, we're in an era right now where everything is recorded. Everything is recorded. If you really feel harm for some of these folks that you're looking at, put the phone down. If you really care and you feel like that, put the phone down. And I'm not saying involve yourself in that interaction, but things can be done. I know police officers have badges, they have guns, but you're holding the phone and you're sitting right here and you're screaming and you're like, oh my God, help him, help him. Everything is recorded. Like, When are we going to put the phones down and actually step in? So now we want to protest and we want to walk around and we want to rip statues down and we want to graffiti, which I agree with the statues because they built around Confederacy. We
Right.
know Virginia is a big Confederate state. We know a lot of slaves are here. They were buried here. They still buried here. But for us to sit right there, and then you don't know the person on the other side of the camera because you don't see them. You don't know what color they are, which don't matter. But you sitting right there and you filming it. Let's not film it. Put the phone down. If you really want to help this guy, put the phone down and go towards them. Because I guarantee you, if I was holding that phone recording George Floyd with the knee on his neck, I would have approached him. And I'm pretty sure more cops would have approached me, but it would have took some heat off the situation. It would have took his mind off of, hey, somebody's approaching me. Let's stop recording and let's stop helping each other. It's too much. The social media thing is out of hand when it comes to us helping each other. We're not helping each other. We just recording each other get killed. We're not helping each other do nothing.
I think you're making I think a lot of people are not going to get your point.
Right.
But I'll say this. What I saw on television the other day was a young gentleman who was getting arrested, and the police were kind of roughing him up. This is a young guy,
Right.
probably in his teens, late teens, 17, 18, something like that, maybe early 20s. And his grandmother, it was at his house, or maybe his grandmother's house, but his grandmother came out there. She's, based on the looks and her appearance, all of 70 or 80 years old. And what she
Right.
did was when they were roughing up her grandson, she just walked out into the middle of it and fell over.
Right.
Fell over on top of the grandson. Police trying to pull off, and this is 100% my bias. What I believe is that she saved his life, because that thing could have went sideways. It could have went left. And I think that the point that you're making is you can't come up here and push the police officer out the way. You can't come up in here and do certain things, and you're going to risk yourself going to jail as well,
Right.
for interfering. But there
Right.
may be some better interactions we can do than just sitting there being bystanders watching. There may be some better things that, so you make a good point. It's a
and
point
that's what
that
I
I
was
think
saying.
is very, people gonna be like,
I mean, people gonna look at it sideways. Like I'm a person, like I don't just speak my mind, but I look at situations very clear because I observe a lot of situations. Like I really watch and I observe. But I'm like, okay, it's ways that things can be prevented than us just watching and filming. Someone filmed him getting killed. Someone filmed him. A person, a human like us, filmed him, as well as other situations. And as you're filming him, you're screaming, no, let him go. He can't breathe. No, let him go. Let me tell you something. In my era, in which we kind of, I believe we're the same age because we grew up together. So,
right, yeah.
Listen, in my era, we didn't have the phones. We didn't have that. When we saw something going wrong, we interacted. And I didn't mean negativity all the time, but we helped one another. Like, listen, okay, the police are the law. That's fine. But we are the people that they're supposed to serve. So if I see somebody that's in danger, I want to help. I'm not taking my phone out to watch my brother, not even my brother, another human get hurt.
Right.
Because he's standing there saying, he's sitting right there on the ground, I can't breathe. He's calling for his mother. He can't breathe. I'm not going to film that. Turn that off. Put your phone down and do something different. I seen another incident that happened a few years ago. It was in Atlanta, and it was this black guy. He was maybe about 25 years old. He had just got into a fight with the opposite race, which he was white or whatever, and the white guy was the one that provoked him, and they got into a fight. The black guy beat him up or whatever, and they found him at an intersection in Atlanta, like right by the light, and he was standing there, and they was like, "Hey, lay down on the ground, put your hands up, don't move." Now he didn't have any weapons on him, no weapons at all, nothing. And it was now in this instant, it was a black woman recording this, right? And next thing you know, it's at least 10 or 11 cop cars in Atlanta that pull up on this one black guy. One black guy. And when they pulled up, every car that pulled up, they had an AK-47 pointed at him, 9mm. They had all guns. He has no weapon on him. So you mean to tell me that like all 10 of these cars, which probably have 2 officers in each, was double the factor on one guy, but you got to pull guns out because of what? Because he's not a nutcase. He got in the fight. So now why are they doing this? Why? Because you could have easily had one cop car. You could have had 2 cops in the car. That's fine. One cop car, handle that situation. If he was in the wrong, he was in the wrong. Take him to jail, lock him up, wrap it up. That's it. But we seeing this all the time. I got pulled. When was it? It was about 3 months ago. Because I mean, you know, I do have I'm not gonna say I have a lot of altercations with police, but I got pulled maybe about 3 months ago. I had a tail light out in my back, my middle tail light. And it was during the daytime, wasn't during the nighttime. Right. Now, mind you, I'm not a felon, not a crook, none of that, which I'm thankful for. God bless that.
Right.
And it took 5 cop cars to pull behind me. 5. Yeah. Why do I need 5 cop cars behind me with one man, which I'm only 5'8", and I'm like 160? Why do I need 5 cars of white officers behind me, searching me and searching my vehicle?
Right.
Why? So the question is, to answer those questions before, is how are we going to fix this? No, we can fix this once we realize what's at home and come together. We're not together yet for us to fix that. Now, we protesting and doing all that. It's going to take a lot more than that for us to come together and change the world. Not just change us and the system. It's called change the world. Yeah. It's bigger than that.
I think you're making some really good points. I really do. I'm glad that you're on here today because you're not giving the typical, yeah, man, let's go protest. You're giving us some food for thought. And hopefully everyone who sees this or everyone who will see this later or seeing it live understands that there are different opinions and different ideas out here, but we need to think through it. And so that's I really appreciate what you're doing. Unfortunately, we only got 30 hard minutes, and some of it was mixed in with some bad connection here on our side. But I really appreciate you coming on. In the last, we got about 30 seconds. If you could just hit it real hard, you know, as people of faith, as the Black church, and I'm going to say the Black church, because you don't want other people to define what success is in this situation. Just really quickly, 30 seconds, if you can hit it before we end out. What should the Black church be doing? Where should the church be? Where should we be in this whole process? And I know that's a big question to try to wrap up.
The church should continue to be the church. Back in the day, I remember the church used to go out there. They used to be on the streets. They used to help these people. And the church got to get back there on those streets. We don't have the old grandmothers and stuff like that was telling us to go out there and let's do this, let's do that. You know my grandmother. They used to do that back in the day. Let's go out there and help these people. That's what the church need to be doing right now. The church doesn't need to be, you know, trying to collect, because some churches do. But these are Black churches, you know, and there's some white people inside of these Black churches. They need to get out here and they need to speak They don't need to be a part of the protest. They need to speak. They need to raise their voices. They need to let their church be seen. They need to let their people be seen and let them know that, look, God is with us and we need to change something. God is always going to be there. He's never going nowhere. And that's the main thing that people forget. That's what we're going through right now. With all of this drama going on right now, everybody is forgetting about God.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get back on those streets and let's talk to the people and let's let everybody know that God is still here.
Right.
Regardless of everything that's going on, don't forget about him. Put him first. And that's not just for black churches. That's for all churches. Get back out there and let them know that God is here. He's here.
Yeah.
And he's always going to be here. And he has us. But you always got to have your faith in him. Even when you feel like he's not protecting you. Because he is. And he's always going to teach you through a lesson. He's going to teach you bad from wrong. Look at what he did to Job. He tested him. And he's going to test the rest of us. So now let's get back out there and let's touch the people like we used to do. Let's touch them. And let's not communicate with them over social media. Let's talk to them face to face and let them know what's going on so we can get on to the next chapter and change the world.
Man, that was great. I really appreciate you being on with us. Sorry that we're running out of time. We hit it hard on 30 minutes. Eric, it was great having you here. Please come back and join us again.
I appreciate it. Yeah, man. The pleasure it was wonderful, and I appreciate that. And we'll get back together soon. I was glad to see you the other day and your wife. Let's keep this going because I got a lot of projects going on right now.
Yeah.
I'm into podcasting myself that I'm working on, and it's much more that we're gonna do together in the future. So anytime you need me, call me. We can set up anything and we can do it.
Appreciate you. All right. Again, next Tuesday, 8 o'clock. And this is Impact 2020. Thank you. Good night.